Good morning and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new program. This is Dan at the Solify Group, and I've got just a little bit of a different camera setup today, so we're just trying to finish the touches here, so to speak. So how is everyone doing? I hope you're doing all so well. And hope you came through our winter vortex, I guess it was. And hopefully everyone is safe and sound. Again, welcome to all of you from all the other platforms as well, from those inside the United States, as well as those few people we have scattered around internationally. I just wanted to say hello and good morning to you as well. We're so happy that you join every single week, for those of you that do. And if this came across your YouTube search, we always pray that these videos, interviews, and workshops reach those who they're intended to. And of course, it's not like a For You page over on TikTok, but sometimes once you subscribe and like, they will pop up for you. So we encourage you to do that. And again, we just want to welcome you if this is your first time. And my name is Dan from the Solify Group, and we are all about content to hopefully make your life a little better by bringing programming to live a life that has purpose and that is a fulfilled life for you. And if you would like to contact us, our Gmail is Solify, Soulify, Solify861 at gmail.com. If you want to leave comments in the usual YouTube comment section, feel free to do that. The Gmail account is a little heavier encrypted and has all the security features there. So if you're going to talk about something personal, or you want to discuss your healing journey, or anything actually, feel free to use that email account, as we do have folks that monitor any incoming mail, as well as the YouTube. And so again, welcome to the channel. We hope you'll be a regular. Hope you'll be a regular if this is your first time. If not, welcome back. We always like those that are returning. And again, I want to emphasize that, we don't, anyone from any walk of life is welcome in our home and in our channel, that is. And so we also welcome the LGBTQ plus community, and you're always welcome here as well. And we talk about spirituality. We don't hum down to any religious denomination or church or anything like that. These are topics that can awaken you spiritually, as well as if you're interested in beginning your journey or continuing your journey. We know a lot of times, including myself, along the way, we have needed some extra help, a place to ask questions, or just a safe place to be able to discuss spiritual topics. Okay, so let's get started with our program. And I have actually, we're going to start just a little bit differently. Normally we just pop right into it, but I have a sort of a nice story for you from my high school days, which, as you can see, was quite a while ago. And so I went ahead and volunteered that information. Okay, so back in high school, when you have your curriculum going, and your advisors will always tell you, there's room for a couple of elective courses, right? And so I had already taken in my freshman year, I had already taken the usual woodworking for guys, and usually the girls have home economics or whatever they have now. I couldn't even tell you, it's been so long. But I had already had the woodworking for one semester, and so I wanted to do something totally different. So in my junior year, I elected to take, we had a very excellent teacher in ceramics. I don't know if any of you are familiar with ceramics, but actually taking the raw clay and putting it on a wheel and making different creations, and then following that whole product through all the different stages, including the firing in the kiln. So as we made little different things. We started off from the mold. You can mold certain things like cups and saucers and all that kind of thing. But then you move on to a little more difficult things. And so this one, in my junior year, I decided at the end of the semester was sort of, for the final project, you had to make sort of an elaborate whatever you wanted. And so I chose to make my mother a set of dishes, like dinner plates and cups and saucers, and so it was very tedious work, I'll have to say. And for the bowls, I actually made them on a wheel. It wasn't a mold or anything like that. And so I remember it took me about 2 to 3 tries, because once I got the clay like I wanted it, the consistency, got it on the wheel, the shape was perfect. But as it started to dry, big cracks came in the clay. And so, of course, you can't keep on going with that. If you were to fire something like that, it would just, disintegrate. So I had to start over a couple of times, I remember, and it was rather frustrating, I'll have to say. And so by the time I got to the 3rd try with it, I realized that the clay and the water and all that kind of thing wasn't the right ratio. So once I got that right, it fired perfectly. And I don't know if y'all are out there are real familiar with ceramics, but after it dries and you smooth it all out, sort of, it's a kind of a knife implement, and you take all the rough edges out and you smooth everything out before you fire that for the first time. And so once it's fired on cycle number 1, it becomes very opaque. It comes kind of just white looking, really pale white. It's a hardened surface, and then you can sort of sand it down. You can take that knife implement and you can sort of you can even out all if there's any seams, or like the bottom of the bowl I was making was kind of uneven, so I had to kind of work it a little bit. And then once you put some material on there, so when you some glaze actually on the opaque whatever you've made, and then when you fire it at even higher temperatures and for longer, it becomes that hardened porcelain like you're used to seeing, like in the stores, whether it be a vase or dishes or whatever it is that you're looking at. And to make a long story short, it all came out very, very, I'll have to say, and usually I don't talk about it like this, but very professional looking. and something that I was really proud of to present to my mother. And so I ended up firing it the third time because I had to do, on the second firing, I had to do some, different, sanding it down some more. And so then you have to glaze it again, and then you can put the different colors on there, and however you want it to end up. And so anyway, it was a beautiful, beautiful set. And of course, she was overcome with emotion when I gave it to her because they didn't know, oh, what's he gonna make, or how's it gonna turn out, or and I'm sure that they talked among themselves and thought, well, however it turns out, we're going to be happy with it, And so you can always count on your mother for that, right? And so anyway, in that class, I made some pretty neat things. And another thing that I made was I went out in nature, actually, and found this huge magnolia tree. And you know how the magnolia leaves look. And so what I did was I brought it back and made an impression in the clay, and put a little bend all around it, and made a candy dish out of that. Some people could use it for a cigarette, like an ashtray. But of course, no one in my family smoked, so we made it a candy dish, and I had painted it yellow like the magnolia, kind of like a leaf. And I think to this day it still exists somewhere. One of my sisters have it, I think. And so I was very proud of that. But as I was thinking this week, as I was thinking about that particular story, it really brought to mind our spiritual experience, for many different reasons. And I wanted to say that the kiln, I enjoyed ceramics so much that I tried to talk my mother and father into allowing me to buy a used kiln and set it up out in. We had like a shed, just like a utility building out there. And of course, they didn't want me to because they thought it was dangerous and it, used a lot of electricity. But yes, you could get really, really burned on those if you don't watch what you're doing, because in the kiln process, it heats up to like 24 to 2700 degrees. And of course, this is like a furnace, right? It's not just something that heats up. It's like the fire that's contained in there, it could incinerate most anything. So I had forgotten that part about it, but I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to, set up a workshop and do that just as a hobby. And then I went off to college, university, and then I never really, really got to do it anymore or work in ceramics anymore. And it was just really, really, really relaxing to me, and it sort of brought out the creative juices, because I didn't like so much the molds. I liked to freeform on the wheel, all kinds of things. And so as I was saying this week, when I was thinking about, I was talking with someone earlier in the week, and it sort of brought up that nostalgic remembering the class, and so it really brought up some things. Spirit brought up in my mind some things that relates to our spiritual walk, or our journey, as sometimes we call it. And really, the reason we call it a journey is it's not just one step, right? It's many steps. If you are on your journey, you'll be able to relate to that. And so, as we experience our spiritual awakening, I'm sure some of you have been doing that for quite some time. Maybe you're experienced already your second awakening. Maybe you're transforming, that beautiful transformation that takes place when we, keep on going deeper and deeper. Or maybe you guys out there that are listening haven't awakened at all yet. Maybe you're just still going along wondering if there's a better life, or maybe you feel the call to something bigger, something deeper. So wherever you are on your spiritual walk, this program today is for you. Now, I'm not only talking to those that are awakening, I'm also talking to the light workers, and many, many light workers, as well as, the chosen ones, or the ones that have chosen to answer the call to devote their life, to spirituality, to God, to spirit, source, universe. And again, I forgot to mention at the beginning, whatever you resonate with is perfectly fine. You'll never hear me tell you that you need to change your core beliefs, or there's something wrong with the way you believe. No. Again, we're not related to any religious denomination. I'm just simply a person that is spiritual, that I see the need to be able to promote this information to you. And if it, my prayer is that it will deeply, instill something in you to keep going. If you've never, experienced your first spiritual awakening, then I hope that it will trigger you to at least look into that, look into the information, or hopefully it will lead you to make that decision. So sometimes when we start the awakening, I shouldn't say sometimes, most all the time, you're going to realize that you have some wounds, some things that hasn't gone quite right. Maybe your life, like mine, was pretty, what's the word I want to use, was pretty challenging. All through my childhood was very challenging. And of course, when I got to adulthood, because my childhood was challenged, it just got deeper and deeper and deeper, right? And so when I became an adult and started those adult relationships, and different things happened, many, many, many wounds happened. And if you followed me for any length of time, you know that I keep saying that I'm going to put my story out there. And I certainly am. It's going to take a couple of videos, I think. And because I think the more that we can help each other, it's not because I think I had such a terrific story to tell. It's because I want to be able to help someone else, maybe that's going through that kind of time. Really, the way my life has gone, I used to think, woe is me. You know how we think that as we're growing up, and we think, oh, there must not be anybody with any more problems than I've got. But that's not true. But I do understand that some people may get stuck. Some people may feel like, wow, there's no way out of this one, or whatever it is that you're experiencing. But I had that kind of, life since I was born all the way up, actually, to just when I, started my first journey. My first one, my first awakening. And by rights, I probably shouldn't even be here. There are many times that, I'll say several instances that I was almost unalived through many different situations. So I feel very blessed to be here and even be able to talk with you this morning. And so, but yes, I want to drop that video so that if it helps someone else that feels or has gone through some of the same experiences I have, and or even less experiences than I've had, it will help in order to be able to see some of the situations that you can do and still be successful. Still, Spirit, God, universe, whatever you resonate with is always there. They're always protecting you, but we don't always acknowledge. We don't acknowledge like we should, and so. Not to get ahead of myself, the fact that we're all called upon to go through challenges, obstacles, and of course the Lord, Spirit, God, is trying to prepare us, right? And so what's He trying to prepare us for? He or she, I know some of you have different ways that you look at the higher power that you resonate with. And so God, Source, Spirit, is trying to prepare us for that beautiful purpose that both yourself and that higher power has come up with at this time, right? And so, the divine sees something very special in you, in each one of you. He doesn't cast worthless, stones into His furnace, right? Into like the kiln, right? That's actually a furnace. It is such valuable ore that He's not going to waste that time and that effort. So you are valuable. If you could only see your soul, and again, I say this on most videos, we are spiritual beings that just happen to be having this human experience at this juncture in Earth's history, right? And so remember, He's not going to waste His time on valuable stones being, we have to be, tried by the fire and also pruned, right? Sometimes, just like if you look at it like a tree, let's say you have an apple tree, and that apple tree isn't producing any apples, or they're really small, or they're just not very good. The gardener has to go and prune that tree, cut the ends off. Sometimes we have to drive a nail through the trunk of it because it's not getting the right nutrients. There's many things that we have to do sometimes in the pruning process, and also refining the fire. And there were back in the biblical times, there were 3 young men that had an experience in the book of Daniel. Daniel was very famous to King Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel had a reputation of being able to interpret dreams, right? And so there were, as there are now, there were lots of people that were dreaming dreams that they just didn't know what they meant. And so along with Daniel were 3 young Jewish men that were helping run that part of the world at that time. And so King Nebuchadnezzar had decided to create a golden statue, and he was going to require the whole nation to bow down every time they would play music as the signal. Everyone was supposed to bow down, no matter where you were, in your homes, if you're outside, if you're, in your occupation, whatever, you were supposed to bow down and face toward this statue, this golden statue. Well, of course, the Jewish nation served the God of heaven and the God of the prophets, and so they purposed in their heart that they would not bow down and worship this false this false god that King Nebuchadnezzar made. And so one of the how can I say, I guess the sentence that was imposed on you if you refused to do that was they would throw you in this fiery furnace and, unalive you. And so it came, to make a long story short, it came to the king's attention many times. People came and told on Daniel and on the three young men, which were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And to make a long story short, they were told on many, many times. And so finally, the scribes, the king's what purposed as military men, they came and got them and took control of them and brought them to the king. And so the king, on several occasions, he gave them chance after chance after chance because, these three men were very high ranking in the nation because they were like Daniel. They were doing the work of of helping the king interpret the dreams, help running the country. And so I think the king really didn't want to have to do that, but the people kept coming as witnesses and saying, this date they didn't do it, this time they didn't do it, this time they didn't do it. So the story. They, on this particular time, and they refused, and they even told the king, look, this is not the God of heaven, and we're not going to worship a false god. And so invariably they turned the heat of the furnace down enough to open the doors. They threw these three young men in there, and they were youth. They threw them in there and, of course, shut and locked the door and then turned the furnace all the way up. And I just referenced the kiln because can you imagine being placed in a fiery furnace hotter than even that? And so as the people watched them, it was a public spectacle. So as the people watched them, they began to see something very, very strange, that these three men were just conversing with one another like they weren't even bothered by the fire, like there was no fire at all, right? And of course the flames were so hot that the people couldn't even get close to it. They could see inside there, but they couldn't get close enough to see what they were doing. But they were conversing with one another, and so they left them in there for quite a while. And so finally, they said, well, something's not working right, or something's not right. So they got to looking, and they turned it down enough to get closer to look inside of there. It was a glass door there. And so when they did, they saw a fourth person in there. So they said, we only put three, but how is there four people in there? And they're just talking like you and I would be in the park or something conversing, right? And so they finally figured out that the fiery furnace wasn't doing anything to them. And so they turned it all the way down, opened the door, and these men came out. And of course, there wasn't one charred piece of hair. There wasn't sooty clothing. There wasn't the fire did not damage them in any way. And so that fourth person, of course, was God, the Son of God, it says, which, that the people witnessed. And so to bring it back home to us, there's no one trying to put us in a fiery furnace, so that's not the analogy. But the analogy is that as we embark on our spiritual condition, there are many times that we have to go through something we call trials, right? Or a better way to put it in the modern times here are challenges, obstacles in our path. And also, when God prepares us for whatever our purpose is, you know, it can have that feel to it as well. As we are pruned, as we are, having these fiery trials that we have to go through. Sometimes it's painful during that process, right? But once we get on the other side of that, oh my goodness, the glory that there is at being able to go through, and because what happens is we get much stronger. We get, not only do we take care of the obstacles in our pathway, not only do we take care of all the wounds that are down in this beautiful heart space, to be able to control those unwanted thoughts, feelings, especially emotions. Our head plays tricks many times on us and creates all these illusions, right? Because that's what they are. So don't think it's strange concerning those obstacles and the challenges as to try you, as though something strange is happening to you. But rejoice inasmuch as you are partakers with Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with this exceeding joy. And again, I'm not here to tell you what or whom to believe in, but if it's, it's the same as it's spirit, source, universe. As we're awoken spiritually, and we start that healing process within us, we should push through during this healing process. Now, sometimes people will stop, they stop and then they try to deal with whatever trial it is, whatever obstacle, whatever challenge it is, and then they try to go back. Well, guess what? That is still waiting on you, that wound, whatever it is. Now, many of us have to deal with whatever is in your heart space, whatever your life experience has been. It could be, broken relationships. It could be problems with children. It could be, you can't earn enough money, or, your paycheck isn't adequate to be able to, buy food, pay rent. All these things create challenges, right? Do they not? And so, but talking about the story that I was telling you, I wanted to go back to it for just a minute, because as I was making porcelain, because that's what we actually do out of the clay, right? And there's actually there's several characteristics of porcelain, actually. It's hard, it's durable, but another aspect of porcelain is it's actually very translucent. If you've ever worked with ceramics or porcelain, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very translucent, meaning that it actually channels the light. If you shine a light on it and you kind of turn it different angles, it actually it's like a spotlight. It will glare back at you. And so this is actually a channel. And so we channel the light from, spirit, source, universe, Jesus Christ. Having come through the fire, we channel Christ's light into the darkness of the world. Now, I know you will agree that most of the world is dark, right? And so anytime I talk about the light and the dark, I will have many, many people write to me and say it takes light and dark, and I do agree with that. In order to really see the light, you have to have darkness that it bounces off of. So have you ever tried putting, let's say, a light in a window? Well, during the day, while the sun's out, you're not going to see that light, even though the light is on, right? But until the shadows of the darkness come, then the light lights up the whole room then, not just the windowsill. So, yes, it takes light and darkness as well. But here, Christ is trying to show us from the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 5. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven, right? So they're not saying that turn all the lights out so all you see is darkness, right? That's not going to do you any good to see total blackness, right? And so at his house, God your Father, whether it be Source, Spirit, and I know some of you may not resonate with the word heaven, but whatever you resonate with, at his house, God, your potter, is waiting for you. Will you go and meet him there? In Isaiah chapter 44, it says, God will never forget us. Spirit, Source, Universe will never forget you. I know sometimes it seems like we start on the spiritual path, right? We start our journey and we feel like, okay, where is Universe? Where is God at? Where is Yahweh at? Okay, I'm right here and I just feel stuck. I can't move forward. I can't go backwards. So where is he or where is she? And so, he's trying to give us a vessel that will never be destroyed, that will never crack, that will never, fade. And so I keep thinking, I'll read the whole text for you here. It says, God will never forget us. And verse 22, it says, I have blotted out as a thick cloud thy transgressions, thy mistakes, and as a cloud thy sins. Return unto me, for I have redeemed thee. So here, God, or whatever you resonate with, is saying, I've blotted out all your mistakes. Do you think I don't see your mistakes? And we all make the mistakes, right? We've all come up short when, let's say, during relationships, raising our children, on our jobs, not managing our money well. We all make mistakes, whatever they are. And here, the Creator is saying, I've forgotten all your mistakes. I've blotted them all out, and I have redeemed thee. God will never forget us. And it really brings me to mind what we talked about last week, if you were listening there, was Joseph, the story of Joseph, where his brothers had such jealousy and envy and malice and hatred and anger. What did they do with Joseph? They ripped his coat of many colors off. They sold it to the highest bidder, and they threw him in a pit. They threw him in a dry pit, no water, no food. And for days, the scripture says days, but maybe it could have been weeks. But he stayed there until the Ishmaelites were coming through that area, and they sold him for 20 pieces of silver. For 20 pieces of silver, they sold him. So do you think Joseph could have been fearful? Do you think he had reason to kind of like, wow, these are my brothers who are supposed to love me? You think he had a reason to doubt, to be worried, to feel despair? What about us, my brothers and sisters? How many times do we feel fear? And sometimes there's no reason to feel the fear, but sometimes we're placed in circumstances and situations that we're thinking, wow, where is God? We're spirit. We're source. But source, spirit, universe, God, Yahweh, has never left us. Never will they leave you. But many times we leave them, don't we? We choose not to wake up spiritually. We choose not to do the right thing many, many times. You know, God here says himself in Isaiah 43, "This people I have formed for myself. They shall show forth my praise." And so this is what, this is what God is trying to say is he was the potter. He's the one that formed you. He was the creator. He created you. He created everything, every attribute that you have. Okay? And so many times when we make that decision not to wake up spiritually, he never leaves us. Did you know you have a whole angel? I didn't want to say angel. You have a whole spiritual team. God, the creator, whether you call it spirit, source, universe, it doesn't matter. You have angels that are constantly by your side. You may not know they are, but they're there constantly protecting you, constantly whispering to you, hoping that you'll hear, loving you, holding you, ever since you've been born. Many times, many people are, I call it the matrix, or inside this matrix, and pursuing all this worldly stuff. Money, prestige, power, to be the most person of notoriety. We see that especially, right, on social platforms, right? We see it out in the workplace. We see money, money, money. I've got to get, right? And then we listen to the media, and then we get filled up to here full of fear, doubt. I'm telling you there's a better way. I'm showing you there's a better way. You don't have to be glued to this matrix. Some time ago, I made that decision that I left the matrix. Because, all the fear is that everyone is promoting is an illusion to begin with. There is a better way. We don't have to be at each other's throats. We don't have to constantly be pursuing each other, trying to, however you want to put it, jabbing that poker in their side. We don't have to be that kind of person. We can choose to wake up spiritually. We can choose to listen to the voice of God. We can choose to allow our angels to minister to us, to allow Source, Spirit, Universe to give us what we need. They're willing to hand you what it is that you need. Did you know that? And in our first premiere video that I made, we went over what if I'm the answer, finding that purpose that you and God came up with, you and the Creator came up with. Okay? But instead, I think I mentioned, instead, we're out trying to do something else. We're out trying to find something else. I don't want that. I want to be famous. I want to be prestigious. I want a mansion. I want a mansion in Beverly Hills, right? Well, we see what's happening there, right? And so this nothingness of pursuing worldly intentions, and many times I talk about the moral life, and I'm not just talking about the three-letter word that describes physical love, right? It's much more than that. It's pursuing all the things that the world is dangling out there for you to take. Now, I'm not going to look it up for you, but in the book of Matthew, it tells you, don't worry about what you're going to wear. Don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't worry about all these things, because if the Lord, if Spirit, Source, if you resonate with Mother Gaia like I do you not think that they feed the birds every day? Do you not think all the animals eat? by the glory of God, they gather their food in front of their enemies. You know, if you ever watch the little sparrows, the little robins, all these tiny little birds, there can be 2 or 3 cats out there, and they'll still be out there gathering their food. Now they have to be wary of the big cat, right? But if you don't think your Heavenly Father will feed you, why do we, it says in the text, "O ye of little faith," well, the nothingness of pursuing all these worldly intentions when God has a much more glorious path for us. And again, God, Spirit, Source, Universe, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever it is that you resonate with your walk in life. I'm not here to tell you what to believe in, but God has a plan for us, and we must trust and have that deep, deep trust and faith in Him. We should ask for the divine timing, resubmit our life to that divine timing and the divine blueprint that God has for our life. Again, in Matthew chapter 5, it says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on the hill cannot be hid." Do you realize that? We can't be hidden once we have the light within us. And no, I'm not saying that it's all light, okay? Remember, there's darkness and there's light, but hopefully there's a little more light than the darkness, because if you're shrouded in darkness, guess what? You can't be seen as a city on a hill, because no one is going to see you, okay? If you're completely 100% shrouded in darkness, no one is going to be able to see you. We cannot be hidden. Also, continuing on, verse 15 and 16, it talks about, "Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel or a covering, but on a candlestick that giveth light into all of the house. Shine before all men and women. Let them see the good works in which your Heavenly Father," or Spirit, Source, whatever you believe in, "has given to you." Well, what about you, my brothers and sisters? Are you searching for that beautiful purpose that God has given you? Last week we talked about when we don't search out that beautiful purpose, when we don't even know what it is, why were we put here on this planet at this particular time in 2025? Why are you here? Why are we here? Well, when Jesus was on the earth, walking on the earth and healing, there was a man that came to him about his little son. His son had been deaf and dumb because an evil spirit had invaded him, and this had gone on for years and years. And so finally the father and the mother were so distraught, they sought out Jesus to be able to come to the town and be able to heal him. And I'm not going to go through the whole story, but Jesus did heal him. And the little boy became a normal boy again. It took away his deafness and dumbness, right? And we're talking about being mute. We're not talking about he was uneducated, okay? And just so that we're all on the same page here. And so Jesus said unto him, to the man, to the father, "If thou can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth." And I just want to ask you, do you believe? Are you out searching for your purpose? Or Are you just going out into the world and taking everything the world says? You know, being fearful, not knowing which way to turn. You know, Spirit and Source Universe has given us a very simple plan. Just ask what your purpose is, and I promise you, it's going to resonate with your soul. You don't have to worry about that, oh, I might not want to do what my purpose is. I promise you, you're going to want to do it. It's built into your heart. It's built into the soul in here. But you know what? We have to go inside. We can't keep getting comfort from the world. Okay, we can't keep getting that confirmation from the world. But I want to ask a question. What is it that we think God can't do for us? What is it that we have within us that thinks God doesn't know us? After all, He created you, right? What do we think that God can't do for us? Is it money? Is it a good job? Is it a partner, a man, a woman? What is it that we think God cannot do for us, for you and for me? And anytime you see me make these videos, I'm making them for me just as much as you, okay? You know, we need to seek God. We need to seek Spirit, Source, Universe. We need to ask, what is that purpose? What's my destiny? What's the real reason I'm here? Why am I here? I want to know. Well, there's a story in the book of Matthew that I may show my vulnerability here, but it touches my heart each and every time I talk about it. But you know, God is calling us now. Spirit, Source, He's calling out to us now. Will you listen? In Matthew chapter 18, there's the story of the owner of the sheep that had 100 sheep, but 99 of them were safe in the barn, whatever shed they had during those times. And one had gotten away, and there was a horrific storm, almost like you would consider a hurricane, almost. And one little sheep got away. So as the owner, the good shepherd, counted the sheep, one was missing. And what did the shepherd do? Did he just say, well, I've got 99, it doesn't matter, you know? So, well, if one or two get away, well, whatever. Or if a wolf eats a sheep, oh well, I've got 99 left. Is that what he did? No. My brothers and sisters, what did he do? He took it upon himself. Don't forget, though, the men in that time wore sandals. He went through the darkest of dark nights, searching for that one little sheep. It was a lamb. And he traveled and traveled for an hour or 2 hours, calling out its name, trying to call for it, because, after all, the sheep knew his voice, right? And so, lo and behold, after a couple of hours out there, he heard a faint little cry. And this little lamb, you know, sheep are notorious for just running out or following each other, and they get into so much trouble. But it was on the side of a cliff, right? Ready to fall, ready to drop into the precipice there. And so finally he climbed down with his staff. He climbed down. He kept listening for the voice of the little lamb wherever it was, and it was in a very dangerous spot, even for the shepherd, to be able to even get down to where he was at. And so he got it. He grabbed it. He got back up to the level land. And what do you think he did with that little lamb? Do you think he beat it? No. Do you think he knocked some sense into its head? No. Do you think he was tempted just to throw it off the cliff? No. Even though he was sopping wet, soaking wet, he held that little lamb close to his heart, dressed its wounds, and took it back home, got it warm, put it with the rest of the sheep, reunited it with its mother, fed it. And I bring up this story because what do we do as Christ is calling us? Spirit, source, universe. They want to hand you such a beautiful life. Beautiful. It doesn't matter all of your mistakes. Whatever you feel that your wounds are down in here, it doesn't matter. They've already been forgiven. You know that? You're already forgiven. But we go along day to day just like we have no thought. We keep going, running toward the cliff. That's what we do. You know? And so as Spirit, Source, Universe have taught us, God have taught us, we have to go to the inside. When we start this healing process, no matter what our issues are, you could have been married 3 or 4 times. You could have had so many broken relationships you don't even know what to do next. Or it could be you're estranged from your children. It could be you're destitute. You might be homeless. I've had that experience myself. It's not a good experience. Okay? It's a terrible experience. But there are people that care about you. There's a universe, Spirit, Source that care about you. Only you. Well, not only you, but I mean as far as your mindset goes. And that's that true love. But as we go on the inside, we have to forget about letting things ruminate in our head. Because I'm telling you, you'll end up right back there in the past. You will go around and around and around and around. And worrying about something does not fix it. Right? Being doubtful, doubting everything anybody says is not going to fix it. Maybe you were like me. I had all of that. Fear, pain, doubt, worry, and especially despair. I had a lot of despair. But you know, my angels, my guardian angel never left my side. Never left me, even though I didn't know it at the time. Spirit and Source never left me. You know, we have universe, Source right in here, but we act like it's somewhere else. We act like we don't have that here. But we have to get on the inside. We have to have time to contemplate, we have to have time to let our soul speak to us. Remember, we're human and we're a soul at the same time. We have to go in and reflect what's really going on. You know, what's my purpose? What's that beautiful experience God wants us to have? Okay, and I'm not here to talk you into any core belief or anything like that. Now, I will tell you, you do need to lay down all those limiting beliefs, all those things that people told you growing up. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. You'll never amount to anything. You're too young. You're too old. You're too fat. You're too thin. You know, turn on the internet and what do you hear? This is how you lose weight. Put this in your veins. This is how you lose weight. Take this drug. Take this. You know, no. That's not our biggest problem. Yeah, and if you're battling with being underweight or overweight, that you might need to look at that situation. But no, you're just as you are. You're enough. You're more than enough. Okay? Don't ever let someone tell you you're not enough. Don't ever let someone tell you you'll never amount to anything like they told me. Don't ever let someone tell you this is as good as it gets. No, it's not. Keep pressing forward. Well, there's something that as we heal our wounds, you know, not only the wounds, but there's going to be people that, you know, we always say it like this, but sometimes as you're healing and you're moving forward, sometimes some people, places, and things just can't come along with you on your new journey, right? Or maybe there's been people that have been estranged from you already, right? Maybe people have done things to you in the past that created those wounds. And maybe there is unforgiveness right now with some people. But here Spirit and Source tell us that we need to forgive each other. By forgiving each other doesn't mean that you've forgotten what they did. It doesn't mean that the wounds suddenly, poof, they go away. No. We're going to have some scars even after we heal. But we should forgive one another, because actually in forgiving, it's not so much, it is for the other person, but it's also for you more than it is the other person, because hopefully that other person is going to forgive you as well. But when you forgive someone, that actually releases you from all those burdens. That releases you from guilt, from the pain, from the fear, from the doubt, from the worry, and you will ride much lighter. Those vibrations will suddenly change. And, you know, I don't really have time on this video to talk about managing your energy, but it's going to be a major 2-part video when we drop that. It's very, very, very crucial that you understand how to manage, you know, those vibrations. And it's not as difficult as it may seem. I'm just saying that there's a lot of different moving parts that I'd like to let you know about. But also, in releasing each other through forgiveness, you know, and before I move on, I just want to say, by being unforgiving to someone, it's not going to make anything any better. It's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to curse the other person anymore. All it's doing is it's tearing you up inside. That's all it's doing. It's making you more just like Joseph's brothers, right? What did they have? Jealousy, envy, anger, on and on and on and on. That's what it creates, okay? And again, then all of a sudden we want to get revenge. We want to get back at the person and all that. Do you know what happens then? You're taking You're entering into what God says not to do. Revenge is God's business, okay? And so, you know, He's going to take care of it. He's going to defend you, okay? Because what happens is there's karma mixed in with all of that. And so when you get involved in that, it's not going to be so good on either side of the spectrum. Okay, so we need to forgive each other, and by so doing, we lighten our load. You know, we can surrender, we can acknowledge with love, we can surrender and release that to universe. And universe knows what to do with all that baggage, okay? With all the baggage, whatever the situation has been around that. And there's something else that we need to do after forgiving each other. In Luke chapter 6, 27 and 28, it reads, "Which I say unto you, which hear, love your enemies. Do good to them which hate you. Bless them that curse you. And pray for them which despitefully use you." And again, I want to go back to that example of Joseph. Did Joseph love his enemies, which happened to be his brothers? Did he bless them? Yes. He gave them food on, on 4 occasions. And then he brought them into the palace and he treated them like royalty. He insisted upon his staff to go kill the fattest calf, to fix a feast, and all of the palace came to honor Joseph's brothers. Remember that threw him in a pit with no food, no water, sold him as a slave. Then Potiphar's wife tried to accuse him of having his way with her. Just on and on and on and on. So Joseph knew his purpose, right? His purpose was to save the nation of Egypt. Okay? So again, I ask, what's your purpose? The more you go without knowing what your purpose is, the world is languishing. The world isn't able to see or feel or receive what it is that you have to offer. And again, you may be a very important person. You may be the next Mother Teresa. You may be the next, I don't know, president somewhere. You may be not even around here. You may travel. It's going to resonate with your soul. Okay? And so, my brothers and sisters, my heart goes out. Please, please, search for what your purpose is. Ask Spirit, Source, Universe, whatever your walk of life is. And love your enemies. Pray for them. Obviously, they have some problems. They have some scars. Maybe like we do, right? And you'll find that you'll only be blessed by following the instructions that God, Spirit, Source, Universe, has given to us. And you'll find that your walk will go forward. Your purpose, your destiny, and especially the journey. And I love each and every one of you. And that's not just a way or something to say to end the video. Please search for your purpose. Show the love to the world and be what the world needs, because many of us, you can look out at the landscape and see that things aren't going so well, right? But actually they are. It's just we have to go through the storm, and just on the other side of the storm are going to be new ways of relating to each other, new ways of doing things. It's not always going to be like this. And if you want to communicate with me, please do. It's solify861@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment in the YouTube comment section. I'd be happy to hear from any of you. And again, like us if you want to, subscribe. I'm not here for the hits. I'm not here for, a million people subscribing. I'm here to try to help the collective, to help humanity make that decision to be able to awaken spiritually, is what we're here for, to promote this positive programming. And I can't end the video without letting you know, if you need help, if you want a direction to go in, if you are having issues, we do have a lot of written material. Maybe we can help you over the hurdle, whatever it may be. And but I will see you guys on the next video. And be positive, be cheerful, and until we see each other again, I love you.